Hi everyone, this is Jamie versus Marco. This was played on the 20th of October 2018. Let's get into it. Okay, d4, there we go. King's Indian defense. Yep, nothing really. Bishop g3. Yeah, I spoke about this in a previous game. The bishop doesn't really belong on d3. I much prefer the bishop sitting on e2. It negates, bishop g4 pins. That's not really the issue. The real issue is that this pawn on e4 is probably going to get fixed here by a pawn on e5, and the bishop's just going to be running into nothing. So the bishop probably prefers e2, because at least that way it's guarding h5 through the knight. It sort of stops black from going for this knight h5 idea and then following up with f5. The knight has to retreat somewhere passive like here or here. But I mean, it should be okay. It's not going to lose the game for you. I just think these tiny little things add up over the course of a long game. Bishop g4, which is very annoying. h3, that's fine. Bishop takes, queen takes. Knight c6, yeah. Bishop e3, yeah. Neither player's really done anything terrible just yet. So as we can see, the knight is moving away back to e8 to allow this pawn to charge up the board here. Not that. In fact, let's get rid of that. Deliberation. Knight e2 was played here. That's fine. Knight b4. Does white care if he loses his light squared bishop? These kind of decisions are hard to make in a game. I mean, if white thinks his pawns are going to get stuck on white squares, then trading that knight off of the bishop is actually helping white. So what actually happened? Okay, so white was not unhappy with the trade. Fair enough. Takes. f5. Yeah, I mean, normally you want to fix a pawn. You want to play something like e5 first before you decide to commit to f5. The problem with playing f5 straight away is that if this e pawn moves up to e4 and e5 and it gets taken, then not like that, and it gets taken, then this king becomes quite exposed. I think getting e5 in first and seeing how white responds is a better idea than just chucking f5 in straight away. I mean, it doesn't look like a massive blunder or anything, but it could get uncomfortable. So e takes, rook takes, and yes, so now, when e5 gets played at some point, white's going to be looking to take it rather than push past it. And this just leaves his king quite exposed. Nothing game ending just yet. I mean, both players have played quite sensibly, to be honest. Knight g3, rook f7. Yeah, that's the correct spot for the rook, since white doesn't have a light squared bishop anymore. Bishop c3. There are any other options here? Like fixing the pawn on e7 with a move like d5 looks very attractive here, because then you've created a backward e pawn, and you can look to castle and start putting rooks on the e file. Whereas with the pawns like this, black still has the option of playing e5, and after trading, taking with a piece. And his position's good. I kind of like d5 here. I really do think d5, because that way if e5 gets played at any stage, you can just take it en passant like that. So yeah, bishop c3. Can black play e5 now? Up, takes. Well, he'll end up with an isolated pawn if he does. Probably doesn't want to. But maybe he can play e6, and that way white doesn't have this d5 annoying move anymore, which creates a backward pawn. I mean, this e6 pawn does look a little bit loose. and might be a target, but I think it's a lot less of a target than if it's sitting on e7. So, oh, e6 was actually played. I think that was good, yeah. And I really do think d5 would be a better way to try and go after black in this position. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with bishop c3. It is a sensible move still. It's still okay. Castles, knight f6. I'm just having a look at the other options that black has here. Yeah, I mean, the knight doesn't want to sit on e8. It's fair enough. Rook fe1. Yeah, queen e7. d5 is then answered by e5, which I think is fine for black. I think black's okay. Yeah, that's okay. Rook e2, that makes sense. Start doubling your rooks and try and assault this pawn of everything you've got. Knight d7. Where's that knight headed? Oh, I guess it's just defending e5 because black wants to play e5 and fix his position. Whoa. The idea is after takes, he wants to take back with a piece every time. I'd be a bit concerned about some sort of pin on whatever's left on e5. It's a bit dicey, but what other things could black have actually done here? I mean, getting the queen off the pin. I mean, I don't even think the queen should have gone to e7 in the first place. When I was looking at it, I thought queen e7 might be okay, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's running straight into a pin like that was not a good idea, and the queen should have gone to d7 in the first place. Why put your queen on the same line as the enemy rook? So yeah, I think here now, because it only just occurred to me, because here I'm looking at it thinking, oh, we got to get the queen off that rook, and a move like queen d7 is the sort of thing I'm thinking about here. I mean, alternatively, just get your rook in behind defending the pawn as quickly as you can. Okay, knight d7, maybe a bit too ambitious here. I think that pawn is in serious danger, not from that, obviously, but because of rook e1. And the doubled rooks on this e-pawn, this is just, you know, how do you deal with this? Well, black's kind of committed now. He has to play e5, but yeah, that pin is going to be a pain, I think. So after d takes e5, knight takes e5. The move played was queen d5. I like that idea. I'm just thinking if there's anything better. Can't really play a move like queen d2, can we? I'm trying to find a way to threaten to play f4 with the pin, you know, piling on the pin piece and just winning it that way. So something like queen d2 is what I'm looking at, but yeah, queen d5 is looking okay as well. It doesn't threaten f4, but it does threaten the b pawn. You know, it pretty much invites c6. Yeah, I don't know. What about queen d2? I mean, the immediate threat is f4. Nope, not that. So how does black actually deal with the fact that f4 is threatened right now? Let's look at the engine. It's suggesting b6. How does b6 stop f4? What? F4. Oh, counterpin. He can. Oh, black can use tactics to counter white's tactics. This is a mess now. Yeah, it's a mess. This is now en prise and needs to be defended by a move like rook e4, and this queen needs to reroute around the place. Yeah, okay, so queen d2 wasn't as clear cut as I thought. I don't really like queen d5. I mean, the engine says it's okay, but it runs straight into c6, which is what black played. It's what I would have played. And now the queen has to find somewhere else to run, you know, back to d1 or something. So e4 was chosen. That does actually threaten f4, doesn't it? Whoops. So black has to deal with that either by moving his queen off the pin, or by guarding f4 one more time. So rook a f8, that makes sense in that perspective. I just looked at the engine's analysis, and the engine just immediately said black's lost at least a pawn from that move. because of the move c5. Oh wow, nifty. So the pawn on d6 is on pre. What if he answers d5 though? Oh, the pin, you can just play this and maintain the pin. And that knight looks like it's doomed. Yeah, okay. c5 is good. What was actually played was not c5, but knight f1. I'm not sure why. What is it doing? Where's it going? I mean, is it some sort of plan that involves knight here to here and attacking the pinned piece? I don't, yeah. Up until now, I think both players have played quite well. I mean, white has c5 here and black is in a lot of trouble, but apart from a few little things, I'm pretty happy with the way these players have played this game. But this move knight f1 just confuses me because I'm not entirely sure what the point of the move is. Where is it going and why are we doing it? The only thing I can think of is some long maneuver to here, but by the time it gets there, black has surely dealt with the issues. c5 is obviously great. Maybe just queen c2 and getting the queen out of the way. Not sure what that does either. It's a tricky one. c5 is clearly the way forward. Okay, knight f1 was played. I'm not sure why. It invites rook f4, which was played. That was really good. And the queen dropped back to e3, maintaining the pin. And now queen g5. What's the engine suggesting? Rook takes c4 as an option, apparently. Just steal a pawn. Is that doable? Looks like it is. Looks like black can just take this pawn now. Other options, queen f7, which gets the queen off the pin and piles more pressure on the f2 pawn. The move played was queen g5, and yeah, it's hard to tell what to do here. The knight really just wants to go back where it came from. It shouldn't have jumped into f1 in the first place. Knight h2 was played. I mean, it's not bad. Maybe, yeah, I mean, one of the great things about going here is that you can jump onto here. Maybe here, so you defend your pawn. Well, even though he's being attacked twice. You go there to defend the pawn, but you've also got the option of going into e4. What was played was knight h2. And at this point, black just said, well, thank you, free pawn. Wait, hang on. No, there. I was just thinking queen fork, king and knight, but the knight's actually defended by the rook. So I still think that check is correct, though. That's what was played. Check, king goes in the corner, and then g3. And yeah, that's quite uncomfortable. The rook's not even in danger though. It looks like it's chasing the rook away so you can grab the knight. Unfortunately, the rook is not threatened to be taken because the pawn is pinned to the king. So what is it that black played here? He took the bishop. Yeah, well, probably is very sensible. Took back with the pawn. And then d5 was played. Probably the knight has to head back and aim for the f3 square. d5 just loses according to the engine. It's just bad. It's hard to see why though. Well, it's not hard to see. I can see what move the engine wants to play, but the idea behind it's quite interesting. h4 kicks the queen. The idea is to kick the queen away so you can grab the rook. Okay, but oops. But yeah, the rook can just take it for free apparently, but apparently not, because that puts the queen and the rook in a position where they can get knight forked. A move which looks impossible because normally this would be a free knight, but I think the black king probably gets slaughtered in this position. It's just too weak. Queen c8 check, and there's really only one answer. The king has to go to g7, and then rook e7 check. And the king has to go to h6. I mean, it's not going to go to f6. It just gets mated instantly by queen f8. And then yeah, we've got this idea. This is quite a common idea when the king tries to sneak into h8. The h7 pawn becomes very vulnerable from behind. So a move like queen c7, for instance, is a killer. Now you don't want to take this pawn on b7. because that leaves the g3 pawn weak. So there might be just a counter sacrifice on here, and you've actually, it's not just a draw, I think you get mated. Rook takes, f takes, queen takes, king f1, rook h1. Yeah, you get mated. Quite funny, really. But if you go queen c7, you defend your g3 pawn, stopping that mate, and threaten just a very simple rook h7 mate at the same time. And you know, there's how do you get out of this? You know, moves like moving the queen to create an escape square, I can't imagine are going to work. So you look at queen f6, there's just a simple rook h7 check, king has to go to g5, and then that's just a free rook, isn't it? Well, not free, I mean they can grab this, but yeah, they'll probably get mated very soon. Can they take this? No, there's no actual threat, so the queen can just follow up in here and threaten to jump into h6. Either way, white is the exchange up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. Exchange for 2 pawns up, but this king is, well, it's toast. It's just surrounded by 2 rooks and a queen, and it's about to get slaughtered. It's not much black can do here. You know, the only move according to the engine is queen f3. It's any way to limp on, and then just a simple queen here. King has to move. If it goes here or here, I think rook f4 either way. Is that right? Just wins material. Yeah, with a fairly easy win for white after that. So yeah, anyway, let's get back into the game. Bang, bang. Okay, so in this position here, yeah, quite extraordinary combination. h4 to deflect the queen away so we can grab the free rook. If he takes the free pawn, there's a really hilarious knight fork here. And this rook can't take the free knight because of quite an extraordinary combination there with the weakness of the h7 pawn. That's one for everyone to remember. If you can chase the king to h6, the pawn behind it, h7 pawn, is often very vulnerable to doubled rooks or rook and queen on the 7th rank and being able to take this. Sometimes you even see bishops sneak into g8 and threaten mates that can't be stopped, or can't be stopped without giving up a lot of material. So white actually had a win there with h4. So h4, rook takes h4, but he missed the brilliant knight f3 and instead played king g2. King g2, yeah, it doesn't even unpin the pawn, so not sure about that move. What else does he do? Does he go to h1? Probably the best bet would be just to set up mating ideas on the 7th rank. Something like queen d7 with the idea of sneaking a rook in here and trying to do something down here. But even that doesn't work because this rook is guarding h7, so maybe that idea is bad. Oh, well, let's just continue on. King g2, I think, is not what I'd have in mind here. The rook just ran back to f4. That's good. That's really good that he got it out of there as soon as he could. Queen d7. So this is white actually continuing, you know, planning that idea out of bringing the rook to e7. The problem is the king is moved to g2, and now anytime black takes on f2, it's check. So you can't actually just say, oh, go ahead, take my pawn, and charge off and go on your own mating attack. So yeah, this king g2 move is a very strange one, because it doesn't actually threaten anything. Well, I mean, I guess the threat was knight there, wasn't it? I guess, oh, no, I take that back. It does threaten something. Threatens a knight fork. Whoops. But yeah, instead I think queen d7, well, obviously knight f3 straight away just wins, but having missed that, and a lot of good players would miss that, queen d7 would be the idea, because if black tries to take on f2, like if he tries to do something like this and take on f2, he doesn't have the time. Rook e7, and it's all over, you know, or it's close to all over. He has to play something like queen h6 to defend his h-pawn. And my computer's locked up. What? Well, no, the computer hasn't locked up. The program's locked up. Okay, there we go. So yeah, king g2, I think, blunder. Well, not blunder, just, yeah, not so good move. It's playing a bit of hope chess there, hoping your opponent just lets you knight fork them. So queen d7 was played. Right idea. Unfortunately, your king is now on the wrong square. This rook jumped back to f7. I'm not sure that was necessary. I mean, there's some pretty cool ideas. Now the king's on g2. Things like knight e5 become amusing, because if the rook tries to take, then you get mated very quickly. You know, just down here, you know, king goes to h1, and then you could probably just take here and mate on h2 very quickly. So rook 4 f7 is probably a bit of a chicken move. Well, it's kind of playing it safe, but I mean, I guess it makes sense if you think about it. The chicken move doesn't mean it's a bad move at all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pawns versus 4 pawns. Playing a safe move like this, bring the rook back here, defend the b7 pawn. You've still got pressure on this king, and your knight is sitting on a beautiful outpost in front of the isolated pawn. Black's just got a safe and very strong position, so it's in practice, a move like this is actually an extremely good move. Okay, so rook e7 was played. White is trying to get some pressure down there. Unfortunately, they just loses by force because the king's now misplaced on g2. And yeah, black found it. Check. King went to h8. And now there should probably just be a winning sacrifice line here. So rook takes h2 check. King takes h2, and then you've got rook f2 check. And where does the king go? If it goes to g1, just queen takes here check, followed by mate. And if it goes to h1, we've just got a very simple queen check, king here, mate, unstoppable. Yeah. So black has just missed a forced win with rook takes and instead played queen h6, which, to be honest, is still winning. I don't see how this knight can be defended. So black had a quicker way to win, but queen h6 does still look like a very strong move. I think queen h5 is equally just as good. They're both extremely good moves. Just rook takes h2 is prettier. Find the pretty mate. Find the way to finish off in a very pleasing way. Okay, let's go. Queen h6. Yeah. So white is now playing spite check chess, where you just check the king as many times as you can to prolong getting mated. Or in this case, he sacrificed a rook for a pawn in order to not get mated. But now he's just a whole rook down. The rest of the game should be just quite meaningless. Both these players are very strong, so I don't think either one of them. Oh, okay. So here we got an example of yeah, I was about to say I don't think either one of them is going to mess up really badly from here. I think black will do this. I'm not sure why black decided to trade his rook for the knight. I mean, he's still a whole knight up and it's still winning. I mean, these sort of sacrifices in the endgame are to simplify the position and make the win as easy as possible. But just looking at it, this knight is garbage. It is never going anywhere. I think, whoops, I think it's unnecessary to take that knight. Why not instead just play, you know, rook here or something, and yeah, just defend the b pawn that way. I don't think there was a reason to sack back just yet, because this knight was really bad. Oops. Okay, well that was what was played. Rook f2 check, king h1. No, you want to run to the center of the board. King g3 surely is the move, unless there's some tactic I'm missing. I mean, I guess the idea is he goes here and he takes this with check, but you're kind of happy if black goes into pawn swapping mode. Takes, attacks, takes, you know, as many, the more pawns that get swapped off, the better white's chances are here of pulling off some miracle draw. King h1, yeah, not sure about that. I mean, it leaves the g pawn for toast. I think maybe just rook f7 might be the safest way to play this. I don't know what was played. Rook f4, and rook came back to e2. Why didn't the rook take here? Oh, because rook g4 traps the king, and you end up getting checkmated earlier. I don't know. You still should charge over after these pawns, even if it does lead to a quicker mate. Because the only way you can possibly draw this as white is if you manage to to take out all these pawns and leave black with a knight and rook versus rook situation. Okay, rook takes g4, rook h2. That just lets the rook swap off, and black found it. Well done, black. It takes. Yeah, there's nothing more to this. This is just race through it. Black is now torturing white. Oh, and white resigned here, I think. The game just stops here, so looks like black was just having a bit of fun at the end there. Very strong game, actually. Very high quality game. Really good. I like that. And yeah, good stuff by Marco. That was a really well played game. Jamie had his chances though, and fumbled them. The one chance was not long after. Yeah, I mean he had his chances. He had that c5 move earlier, which whoa. Can't even remember where it was now. I think it was here after rook af8. I think c5 would have been very strong, and yeah, and there was that chance later on instead of yeah, h4. He found h4, but after rook h4 he missed knight f3, which would have been a spectacular way to win a game of chess. Oh well, everyone, I hope everyone learned something from this, and yeah, goodbye.